So right now, loads of other YouTubers are comparing to last year's iPhone 14 Pro Max to the current iPhone 15 Pro Max, because at the end of the day, this is the best of the best iPhone that you can get, and obviously the 14 Pro Max was the best of the best phone from last year. However, except for the odd rich person or the person who likes to show off they've got the latest and greatest iPhone every year, the majority of you probably actually have an older iPhone instead. Just like this one here, this is the iPhone 13 Pro. So what I've decided to do is a little bit of a mini video series. So I'm going to compare the iPhone 15 Pro Max to the iPhone 13 Pro Max or the iPhone 13 Pro, because the specs are very similar. And then after that, I'm going to do an iPhone 15 Pro Max to the 12 Pro Max. And you guessed it, I'm also going to compare it to the 11 Pro Max 2 in videos that are coming up in the next couple of days. But like I say, the main focus today is doing the iPhone 15 Pro Max versus the iPhone 13 Pro or the 13 Pro Max to see if it's actually worth upgrading to an iPhone 15 Pro Max if you own one of these models right now. And the way how we're going to do this, we're actually going to do real life tests here. So the real things that you'd actually probably use on your iPhone, or the real kind of scenarios that you actually are going to see a difference between both of these phones. So those tests include checking out to see the actual sort of main body difference and sort of main features that you can actually see on the actual iPhones. We're also going to cover up like USB-C as well, because obviously this one still has the lightning port on it. We're also going to do those all important camera tests and changes, going to see the difference of battery life, and then also we'll do some of those good old-fashioned benchmarks to see what the differences are there with the chipsets that are in both of these, and then also we'll do some checking out of opening up some common apps to see what the differences are there too. So then guys, just quickly, I want to talk about these two cute things here. These are the brand new Ugreen Nexo RG series chargers, and we've got here a 65-watt charger and we've also got a 30-watt charger. These new chargers are super cute and look amazing, and they've got a little screen built into them. To use them, they are really awesome. All you have to do is sort of take off the legs here, and then all you have to do is sort of put this into sort of your port, and then actually on the screen, you can see a real-time status of actually sort of charging up your iPhone or any other sort of devices that you have. The RG 30-watt and 65-watt can charge an iPhone 15 Plus and Pro from 0 to 60% in 30 minutes, and charge the iPhone 15 Pro Max to 50% in 30 minutes too. Like I said guys, I really love the design of this. It is super cute. I love the idea that you've actually got sort of like the charging port at the top here, the detachable legs. I think Ugreen, you know, have gone up and beyond what they normally do for say a normal sort of charger, and I really love this type of innovation what they have done here. The RG30 also has GaN technology to provide up to 95% energy conversion efficiency to reduce energy loss and effectively reduce heat generation during a charge. With one single GaN chip inside this, we can actually save up to 8.8 pounds of CO2 emissions compared to using traditional silicon chips. And also guys, like I said, there is also the bigger brother version as well. It actually has multiple sort of different charging ports here on the top, so you can actually charge up multiple different devices with this too. And if you do want to check out these brand new Ugreen chargers, make sure you check out my links details in the description below of this video. And with that guys, it's time to return back to the video. But first of all, let me go and get my camera above here on this desk, and let's see the differences between both these phones and how they look, and sort of the first glances at things that you may notice straight away. So then we have both of the phones here, and the first thing you might have noticed, I've got my always on display on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and this is something we'll introduce actually with the iPhone 14 Pro series that we got that. We did have kind of the sort of Pro Motion display obviously here on the actual iPhone 13 Pro and the iPhone 13 Pro Max, but they didn't bring any kind of always on display to it, and we never actually have got that. That only came about in the 14. The other thing that you would have noticed straight away as well is Dynamic Island. So we do have Dynamic Island where we still have the traditional notch here at the top of the iPhone 13. So if you are a massive fan of the whole idea of Dynamic Island, you will actually notice that straight away. But let's have a look around again the rest of the phone. So let's have a look at the side here. Now again, this is probably one of the most noticeable things. Obviously this is made out of stainless steel, the iPhone 13 13 Pro and the 13 Pro Max, and it does have a fingerprint magnet sort of way about it, but obviously the iPhone 15 Pro and the iPhone 15 Pro Max is really, really bad at it, to be deadly fair. Look at all the fingerprints that I have got on this phone here. It is terrible. The only other thing I'd obviously say is we do have still the silent switch here and the ringer switch there, whereas we have the new action button, so there is a difference there now on the iPhone 15 Pro and the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Now I'm going to flick it over to the other side, and obviously it's just still the same power kind of button, no differences there. But then if we look at the top, nothing really there at all. The difference is they've basically got the same antennas and everything like that around the actual share, so there's nothing there. But having a look underneath, then obviously we have got USB-C, and we've still got traditional Lightning we have on the iPhone 13 Pro and the iPhone 13 Pro Max, so that is definitely a difference there. The other thing I would say is obviously it's just holding this phone in my hand here for both of them. The iPhone 13 Pro, I'd say, yeah, it feels comfortable because obviously it's smaller, but it's got these sharp edges here, whereas the iPhone 15 Pro and the iPhone 15 Pro Max are a bit more smoother, and it definitely feels more comfortable in the hand. I've knocked these phones together, so they're trying to connect to each other, maybe share the same contact details, who knows. But anyway, yeah, that is definitely a feel, I would say. The actual back glass, really? Not much difference. A little bit different, but not too much, I would say, there. The other thing, obviously, to notice is definitely the cameras here. So you can see here, if I just sort of line it up the best I can, you can see the bottom here is definitely bigger on this square. And that's not because this is an iPhone 13 Pro. If you had the Pro Max, it would come out the same size on this phone. The same here with the iPhone 15 Pro Max, you have the 15 Pro. This square is the same size of what you're getting here on 15 Pro Max. So really, you can see that the lenses are a tiny bit more bigger here on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And then the other thing to also notice is that we actually have a dual sort of flash here, where we've got the new quad flash, what came with the iPhone 14 series last year. So you do have that difference there. In thickness wise though, this is where it is quite interesting, is the iPhone 15 Pro Max obviously to the Pro is definitely a bit more thicker. I can't really probably show this, I'll try my best. But lining them up here, if I can do this a little bit, it is slightly thicker. Not by much, only slightly more. But really looking at the face of it, those are the differences between both of these phones in how they actually look. But with just flicking the phones over here and then obviously just turning on into the battery options here, something I just want to show you and talk about briefly on with battery life. Now, the thing is I want to show you here is this maximum capacity. Now, before everybody jumps in and goes, well, Matt, you can't compare an iPhone 13 Pro to a 15 Pro Max. That's a Pro versus a Pro Max. Unfair comparison. Yeah, I do know this. I'm not that stupid. Even if I had right here, say, an iPhone 13 Pro Max, the thing what I'm going to say is about battery life is you cannot compare your battery life on your iPhone 13 or 13 Pro Max to the one you have on the iPhone 15 Pro Max if you get it brand new. Of course, the iPhone 15 Pro Max that you're going to buy or the iPhone 15 Pro's battery life is going to be better, and the main reason is because of this right here, your maximum capacity. As iPhones get used, their maximum capacities go down. So like this one here, this is a 2-year-old iPhone now, and it's at 88% capacity. This is a brand new iPhone. Its maximum capacity is at 100%. The only way I could actually judge this is if I had a brand new iPhone 13 Pro, iPhone 13 Pro Max. And like I said right at the beginning of this, a lot of you won't be having that. You wouldn't have got yourself an iPhone 13 Pro, iPhone 13 Pro Max yesterday and be upgrading to a 15 Pro Max or 15 Pro the next day. So from my point of view, the only way you can judge this is really that if you had the brand new iPhones of both of them. And if that is the case, we had other people out there who've done tests, and the iPhone 15 Pros and the iPhone 15 Pro Max do come ahead only slightly by what we have with the iPhone 13 Pro and the iPhone 13 Pro Max. But like I said again, I will repeat myself here, because you would have had drop downs, I don't know what your percentage will be here, you could be in the 70s, you could be in the 90s. The point is, it will not probably be 100%, and because of that, you will definitely feel that difference, that you will have a better battery life inside the new iPhone that you actually get. So next of all, let's talk about one of the most important things that we use our phones for, and that is the cameras. Now, straight away, I'm going to say this, that obviously the iPhone 15 Pro Max comes with a 48 megapixel wide lens sensor. And then on the 13 Pro Max, it was the last one to get that 12 megapixel sensor inside it. And obviously the 15 Pro Max does have that 48, but it can bin them down to 24 megapixels. And there are going to be a lot of differences here. And then obviously zoom's a big difference here. So the iPhone 13 Pro Max and also the iPhone 13 Pro, like I'm sporting here, could go up to a 3x zoom. It was the first one to do this. The 12 Pro Max could only go up to a 2.5 zoom, for example, whereas this one here, the 15 Pro Max, can go all the way up to a 5x optical zoom. So let's check out then how well those cameras fare out in different scenarios. So then, first of all, starting out with zoom here capability. So here on the 13 Pro Max, we're on 0.5, and I'm going to zoom up to 1x zoom, 2x zoom, 5x zoom, and 10x digital zoom. And let's switch over then to the 15 Pro Max at 0.5, 1x zoom, 2x zoom, 5x zoom, and then also a 10x digital zoom also. Then after that, I thought I'd show you guys what a macro photo looks like here. So on the 13, you don't actually have a macro option, as you can see. So this is how it looks in the end. But if we switch over then to the actual 15 Pro Max, you can see here the difference. Then next of all, I thought I'd show you a portrait photo. So here's the portrait photos on the back here of the iPhone. That's how they look. Now moving over to the nighttime photography here on the 13 Pro. So here we are, 1x. This here is 5x. Now switching over to the 15, this is 1. And then here we are, this is 5x, just using that telephoto lens. And then next of all, what I've decided to do, I wanted to show you the differences between with cinematic. So here we are on the iPhone 13 Pro, and as you can see here, this is the cinematic. We can only record in HD, well, 1080p HD, and we can record at 24 frames per second. We're focusing on a flower here, and then we can focus on the flowers in the background. They come in quite good to focus, but then we can change it again to this one and flick back. So this does hold up pretty well still here in 2023. So the cool thing is we can record in cinematic, and we can record here at 4K 30 frames per second. And there we go, I can change it over to those flowers in the background, bring the other one back in focus. So there we go, that is on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, a very, very smooth transition on the quality that we have here. And now let's do some zoom tests. So starting out then with the iPhone 13 Pro. Remember, this is going to be the same cameras that you've got on the iPhone 13 Pro Max. They were identical that year. So just to show you here, we're at 0.5 zoom, and I'm going to pinch the zoom up. And now we are at total 1.5 zoom. And just like loads of other older iPhones, you do have to stop the recording. Then switch back to the 1x, the normal kind of wide zoom, and then you have to start pinching up again. And then we can go to a maximum of 3x zoom, and you guessed it again, we're gonna have to stop the video. Start it again on the 3x telephoto, then we can zoom all the way up to a 9x zoom here. As you can see, what's coming out quite good to be fair, but obviously we cannot zoom any more further than 9x on doing video recording at 4K 60 frames per second. So now we have the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and we're at 0.5 here. And this is the great thing I love about this iPhone. We can zoom and it will automatically change the actual lenses as we zoom up here. So believe it or not, we're at 2.5 zoom already. And we're now already at 3.5, 4, and we're still going here. We're now at 6x zoom. Let's go up to the 9. So that there is the 9x zoom, the same as the 13 Pro Max could go up to, or the 13 Pro, but we can actually continue, keep on going. We're now at 15x zoom, and that is the maximum zoom we can go up to on 4K video. It's quite a difference there from 9x zoom, and then we're all the way up to here 15x zoom. See how clear it is? It's still quite good. I'm kind of glad that Apple won't push this any more further. So yeah, that is how good the picture is at 15 times zoom. And just to show you here, I can pinch all the way back down, all the way down here to 1 times, and then all the way down to 0.5 again. So as you can see then, the cameras are far better on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Don't get me wrong, probably to the naked eye, if you just gave these photos out to anybody, you probably wouldn't be able to tell what they've actually been shot on. If you ask somebody, this one's definitely been taken on the iPhone 13 Pro Max or iPhone 13 Pro, if this one's been taken on iPhone 15 Pro Max, showed you a picture, you'd go, oh yeah, it's been shot on an iPhone. If you got told that, you wouldn't know probably if it's on an iPhone 15 Pro Max or the iPhone 13 Pro Max. You just wouldn't tell because the difference is a little bit smaller in that sense. So do consider that when you are picking a new iPhone 15 Pro Max, if you're just going to be choosing that for the cameras and you're a person who loves to show off your photos to other people. If you are a person who loves to just look at your own pictures yourself and admire them, how beautiful they are for yourself, then yeah, maybe probably the iPhone 15 Pro Max, you're definitely going to get a lot more fun and enjoyment out of that than what you've got here. And then also the other thing is definitely to do with that zoom capability. Like I said, I probably think my favorite feature on this phone is definitely the zoom, where I can go from 0.5 zoom all the way up to the top of that digital zoom, where you cannot do that on an iPhone 13 Pro or an iPhone 13 Pro Max. You have to stop the video to switch over the different lenses, which is quite ridiculous to be fair. It's just really good that it just automatically transitions, and as you saw as I zoomed up with this phone, you just didn't see the differences there, did you? You couldn't tell it was switching over from different lenses. It was just magic. That's the way I'd like to say it, and that's the thing what Apple love to advertise, that their devices are just magic, and to me that is a magic moment. But moving on, we're now going to open up some common apps on both these phones, and let's actually see, for example, how much slower the iPhone 13 Pro Max is with that A15 chipset inside it compared to the A17 Pro. And obviously we do have a bit more RAM inside this one too. I think we actually have 8 gigs compared to the 6 gig. And let's see what the differences do with opening up common apps. So then guys, we have the iPhone 13 Pro and the iPhone 13 Pro Max are the same specs at the end of the day inside this phone. And then we have the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and I've already mentioned obviously it's just the camera lens with that 5 times zoom. What's the difference between the Pro Max and the Pro? But let's continue on anyway. Let's open up, and just want to show you here, there's nothing actually open here. I don't know if you saw that. See, can't actually show anything in the background because nothing's actually open at all. So we're going to first of all open up Geekbench here and Geekbench there. Oh, it's taking a bit longer to open up here on the iPhone, but never mind. There we go. We've been opened up. Just to show you then, guys, I'm just going to close them down. Just to show you again. Look, see, they're still running in the background. But let's now open and toot toot there. Apologise if I do say and toot toot wrong, but there we go. It's all ready. So let's now close those down. There's the other 2 apps. Let's now open up Maps and everything. Oh, obviously it's the first time doing it on the iPhone 13 Pro Max, so I'm going to say, yeah, that way using this app. Oh, how many things do you get? But there we go, that's all closed there. Let's close that down, we'll minimize them. Let's now open up 3D Mark here, and that's all ready to go too. So let's fade that into the background. So next I'm going to open up the camera and keep that in the background. There we go, it's blurred because obviously it's shining in the backwards, and then the same there. We're going to keep those in the background. Next of all, what we're going to do is we're going to open up the calculator. I'm going to open up the calculator here, put those in the background. After that, we're actually going to open up the cat weather, what's just there. Same thing, use my destination. So we're going to put that in the background. Same with the weather there. We're going to put the U in the background. Yep, we're going to definitely, yeah, you can use it as a widget sort of thing. Next thing we're going to open up is the App Store, and we're going to open up the App Store, and there we go. So App Store, both open. And then finally, what I'm also going to do is I'm just going to open up Music. And I don't want to start listening to music straight away, so we're going to have music there. Same thing, I don't listen to music straight away, but there we go. We've got all of those apps running in the background there. So let's now flick to Geekbench, the first one, and see how quickly that opens. Let's have a look then. Ready? That was quite quick. And let's now flick to, let's say, the App Store. That seems quite smooth. I cannot see any differences. Let's now say calculator. So let's open up that. Nope, no hesitation whatsoever. It's definitely in the background. Let's now have a look at something else. Let's now go to maps, for example. Nope, nothing wrong there at all. All working fine. Let's then... Oh, I've closed one down. But I think you get the idea. Everything is just working really, really fast. We open up multiple apps in the background and there's no problems at all, really. So as you saw there, to be deadly honest, this is the great thing I'd say about Apple and their sort of chipsets. And I think that's the main reason why they haven't really been pushing up the actual speeds of their chipsets or increasing their RAMs by a big amount, because at the end of the day, you're really not going to notice the difference there with opening up multiple apps in the background between both of these phones. Even on iOS 17, you know, this phone here came with iOS 15 and then we've had 16, now 17 on this phone. And really, yeah, it's still really snappy for what it is. So really, I can't really see any differences there, that if you're going to be buying it, that you want to open up more apps or things like this, not really going to see much difference. But if you want those hardcore tests to actually see the big difference, well, let's do some benchmarking for you guys to show what those big differences are. So then guys, the first test we're going to do is Geekbench. I'm going to open this up just to show you guys again that I have closed everything down, so it's all there. So we're going to first of all start out with the CPU benchmark. So let's have a look then at what the actual test is going to give us here and see what the differences are in the CPUs. And there we have it, the test has completed that, and you can see here the difference in the score. There is a difference, but to be honest, we're not talking a lot here. Look at this. We're at 5,970 for the multi-core score, and the single core score, look at that, we're in the same sort of range in the single score here, 2,387, 2,959, and then obviously the 7,426 just down here. So we're talking around about 1,500 more in the multi-core sort of score, about that kind of a figure. But really, if I just show you here the comparisons of everything, so obviously both of the chipsets are very similar in the sense of they both have sort of two clusters of cores. The cache is very, very similar in how they're outlined there. The RAM is obviously different. We've got 6 gigabytes versus 8 gigabytes here. But the most interesting point is obviously just showing here the differences with single core score in to other iPhones and everything, exactly where everything sits. So obviously the single core score here sits at 2,387, and you can see here it's, you know, it's not as fast as say an iPhone 14 Pro, iPhone 14 Pro Max, but it's not that far behind. The same here with the multi-core score as well. It's done very, very well. Obviously what we've got here, we've got 7,426, and we're actually getting closer to M1 territory. It was quite crazy when you think about it. But even here, the iPhone 13 Pro did do super well here with its kind of scoring, especially up at the iPhone 13 Pro Max. It was the average at 5,452. In fact, it did better than that. So yeah, it's really, really good to actually see the actual scoring there. There's not much in it between them. But what we're going to do is we're going to go back now, and what we're going to run, we're actually going to run now the GPU test. So I'm going to switch this over now. Let's press the GPU, and let's see then what the differences are then with graphics on both of these phones. So let's get them started right. Oh, we're going to history. Let's get them started right away. And there we have it. As you can see, obviously the numbers are far bigger on benchmarking on the A17 Pro inside this phone. You know, no surprise there. But the amazing thing is that in the past, Apple used to advertise that every year our phone is twice as fast, or it's 3 times faster than the phone from 2 years ago. We just seen here, we're not even getting, say, above 30% more speed between both of these, with the A15 and then the A17 Pro. There's less than probably about 30% sort of difference in speed on average between both of them. And really, you're not going to notice that. Remember when Apple, like I said, used to say 2 or 3 times? We're talking like 200%, 300% the speed faster. And yet, it just doesn't happen anymore. I think we've just hit that point now. The phones are fast enough, and obviously we do get incremental increases, but really if you're buying it for getting that super fast chip over the chip what's in this, I guess I'm going to say you're going to be a little bit disappointed in the actual differences that you're going to see there. But in summary, is it worth upgrading an iPhone 15 Pro Max to the iPhone 15 Pro Max, or even an iPhone 13 Pro to the iPhone 15 Pro Max? My honest opinion, I would say it's possibly worth it. If you're on one of those sort of plans where you get a new phone every 2 years, well, yeah, go ahead. But personally, in my opinion, if you're not one of those people, if you bought your phone outright and it cost you a lot of money, you bought it on day one, if you're a lucky person to get that, the iPhone 13 Pro, the iPhone 13 Pro Max, and you spent loads of money on it, and you know, you're okay with the cameras, they're not awful, as you've seen the difference here, and you know, everything's working really fast and snappy, as you see now, and you haven't really got a big need for USB-C instead of Lightning, then personally, in my opinion, I would probably say give it another year at least before upgrading to, say, the iPhone 16 at that point. But those are just honestly my own honest opinion from what you've seen here in this review. And like I have said to you guys, I do have another video coming up very soon where we're going to compare this phone here to the iPhone 12 Pro Max next of all, and we're going to see what the differences are there, because obviously that's an extra year again. We've obviously had the 12, 13, 14, then 15. So I think we're actually going to see some interesting results there. So do check out that video because it's coming up soon. If you do want to watch it, make sure you subscribe to this channel and also hit that notification bell. And on that note, guys, it's also time to wrap it up. So many thanks for watching, and if you have enjoyed it, please also do press the like button too. Until next time, guys, I'll see you really soon. Take care. Bye bye.